What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of a bullet hell shooter? Is it the word casual? Because that's how the developers describe this. It's about as casual as a German tourist on a nudist beach. Ooh, you should have seen it. Ugh. So the story goes that you play as Wryn, the world's greatest and pretty much only hero, a pink-haired heroine who is tasked with defending the Earth. Now this might sound simple, but there's a huge force of invading villains, and you pretty much have to master the arts that the game presents to you. This is definitely the Terminator 2 to the first game's Terminator 1.
I'll be back.
It fires everything at you, the kitchen sink, the kitchen, the house, all of it comes flying and hitting you in the face. The story doesn't even pretend to be complex. It basically pits you against a never-ending stream of enemies coming from all directions firing pink and yellow bullets. Now this might sound dull, but actually the real star of the show, the real storyline is the character herself. Her pink hair and flailing pistols, the bullets spraying in all directions, tell a story of their own. And if you give it a chance, Bleed is going to draw you in, and it's going to make you suffer, but you're going to enjoy every single moment of it. Between each level, a weird looking little character, who's a TV presenter, commentates on your progress as you tackle these newfound enemies, and generally just big you up and make you look amazing. Now as the game goes on, you do find a few new characters are involved, but generally the storyline is, look, there's a load of bad guys, just kill them and make yourself look amazing while you're doing it. And that's just fine for a bullet hell shooter with twin stick controls. There is a kind of underlying narrative of this separate character who's trying to compete with you and just generally show you that he's awesome, but your main character just doesn't take him seriously, which is brilliant. And by the end of the game, with the lovely epilogue that pops up, I don't want to spoil it, you kind of get to see this fleshed out a little bit. So while the story isn't anything amazing, it is funny, it is exactly what you'd expect from this type of shooter, and I would give it 14 out of 20. Okay, and on to gameplay, and this is where the game really shines. Every aspect of the game has fantastic control, and as I said before, the real star of the show here is the combat. The combat is fluid and smooth, and while I didn't play the first game, it has some beautiful elements that I have never seen in a twin stick shooter before. It's really gone to town with the idea that you can reflect bullets with your katana. By holding down the button, you can shoot your pistol constantly, rapid fire, never stops, bullets spraying everywhere. And if you just press in any direction, you'll also hit with the katana, which you can use to reflect the pink bullets. While doing so, you can use the right trigger to jump. You can chain your jumps and kind of almost fly around, controlling with the left stick. This can be incredibly difficult were it not for the fact that you also have a slow motion ability. It really is like John Woo created a computer game. You can slow it right down, and this gives you a bullet time effect, which is perfect for this type of game. One of the difficulties I've experienced with bullet hell shooters is that you do lose a lot of the control, and having this slowdown feature adds to the tactical ability of the game. While you're facing a really challenging enemy, just being able to slow down for those few moments and almost plan what you're going to do adds a strategy to the game, which is always missing from the games I've played in the past. The reason the developers describe the story as casual is because it gives you infinite lives, and when you die on a boss, you do restart from the start of that section rather than all the way back at the beginning of the level. This makes it feel really approachable, and you never feel fed up when you die. Now that being said, don't mistake casual for easy, because this game is certainly not easy. You will almost certainly, unless you're an absolute Jedi Master, be dying quite a bit in this game, but you are rewarded for not dying. If you notice on the top right of the screen, you'll see that score that's constantly going up. As it gets higher and higher and you obviously don't die, it goes into level C, and then B, and then A, and then eventually it goes to the S level. If you can maintain that level without dying, you get that score at the end of the round. If you do die, you'll find that that level absolutely tanks. So dying, while it doesn't cost you anything in terms of lives, will cost you something in terms of score, and that adds a good deal of replayability to the game. Bleed 2 takes the streamlined mechanics from the first game and improves upon them in pretty much every way. The game feels smoother, it feels faster, and generally it's a lot more fun. I would score the gameplay 19 out of 20. The graphics follow a 2D side-scrolling style, and while there's nothing particularly special here, they are colourful and quite enjoyable to look at. Overall though, there really is nothing special here and nothing unique in terms of visual style. There are the occasional flourishes, such as the bullets that constantly spray out of your weapon, and the backgrounds can look quite interesting, but for me, there really isn't anything here that's going to set the world on fire or change anything that's been done before. Now, you could argue that when it's 2D graphics there's not much you can do, but when you look at games like Celeste, you can see that actually there are flourishes that can be added that still keep the 2D style, but add a whole level of class to it that hasn't been seen before. So I give graphics and presentation 11 out of 20. On to music and sound, and this is always a kind of subjective area. I find that I like things that Glenn hates, and Glenn likes things that, well, I just think are awful. So have a listen to this. As you can hear, some of the songs later in the game are really nice, but the predominant thing you're going to hear in this game are bullet shots and other sound effects. Now while these sounds can be quite loud and in your face, they don't do anything particularly badly, yet they don't do anything particularly well. There are some nice sounds for the gunshots, they're a lot meatier than they used to be, and the game generally sounds like some kind of anime movie on steroids. It is perfectly fitting for the action that's on the screen, but it can get a little bit intense and none of the tunes are particularly memorable. For me, the sound is a huge improvement over the first game. For this reason it gets 14 out of 20. There's definitely improvements that could be made for number 3, and I look forward to them. Now finally on to value. This is always slightly subjective, but at the price of $14.99 or £13.49 here in the UK, value here is good. Now the campaign's only 7 levels long, but on the story mode that is quite easy and takes you about 2 hours. What you have to factor in though is that you also have a co-op mode that you can play through if you've got a friend that's good enough, and you have several other game modes included. Now this is the perfect game for speedrunners. I myself am not one, but would imagine that some players could get some serious longevity with this score system. As with the first game, it does encourage replayability. So in terms of value, at this price I would give the game a really decent 17 out of 20. So with all these scores combined, that gives us an overall switch up score of 75%. To me, the most important score of the lot is the gameplay, and this received 19 out of 20 for me, which really goes to show that this is a really fun shooter, and one that if you're a big shooter fan, you're going to want to check out, and if you're not, you're still probably going to want to check it out. As for being casual, no, not really. It's tough, but it's fun. Thanks again guys, as always keep it switch up. We have the Nintendo Direct tomorrow and we will be announcing the winner of our competition in the next video. Keep it switch up.